Hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Welcome if you're currently here in the live chat. I appreciate it. Today, we're going to be doing another Dylan Rounds discussion. Finally, returning back and continuing on with that forum page. See from where we last left off from. If there's any more interesting points made, we'll find out. I mean, as for the weather discussion, okay, before we started talking about it in recent time, I first came across it myself on that forum with the time 5 to 6 in the morning. So that's where I got that bit of info from, okay? So all kinds of interesting things to look at, right? You can also look at the Find Dylan Rounds Facebook page as well. There's a post there, just see what that's all about and what's, going underway if there is anything, okay? And also check the comments out of my last video or two. Maybe not the last video because there's only limited comments, but the video before that, just refer back to any points because I think there was a couple which weren't answered, so no harm in doing that. And yeah, if you haven't checked out my previous video, make sure to check it out after watching this one. I'll provide a link down below in the pinned comment section. And as always, as we do go along in this video, in the live chat, feel free to share your own thoughts, opinions, and reactions about the case and other things too, okay? So that all being said, let's transition on to the comments. So starting off from the bottom, we've got a comment by Linda Rupert. Hi, it's been a long time, but I'm back. Okay. I mean, we've come across a few Lindas over time, so it's kind of hard to keep up with which Linda is which, you know what I'm saying? Linda, if you're here right now or if you watch the video later, let me know at what point did you come across my channel. Was it during the days of Kenny Veach and M Cave or was it during the Dylan Rounds coverage? Let me know. Linda also says, I have a lot of catching up to do. I've missed a lot, but I have a phone. Okay. What does Indiana say? Kurt on Salty's start time. Okay. There's a link. What's this? Joseph saying, I think I'm going to check that out also, Indiana, thank you. So I just think the whole Candice conspiracies just are unjustified. Let me be clear, I respect everybody's perspective. Okay. Do I have conspiracies around Candice Cooley? No, not to that extent, not to that extremity. I've questioned Candice Cooley, and here and there I still do, but I'm not going off on one because I don't go all in on stuff, because if you do, it just doesn't go right most of the time. Tom, I've caught her lying enough that I will not believe and if the crap anymore. She's from the same mould as JT, Doug and the Salt crew. So that's interesting now. Interesting what Tom says. Has Candice Cooley lied with time? Well, what I would say is she's gone back and forth with her information, with her findings, right? Could you call it lying? Well, it depends. Lying is when you hold something back, the truth, and instead you give a false answer. With Candice Cooley, she's given an answer at some point, but then changed it later, either because she forgot the original answer when she had to recall it, okay, or she received more updated information, which is a contrast to what she originally said. But because she doesn't acknowledge the change in information at times, or she doesn't acknowledge the errors made, that's what makes people think Candice Cooley is lying. Because when you do lie, you're not honest. And when things do go wrong, you don't always admit it. You just hope it's quiet and no one notices, right? But I think in this situation, Candice Cooley has switched and changed, but maybe not intentional as other people think, okay? That's just my thoughts, right? Do I have anything else? No conspiracies, she just flat out lies. Joseph saying, it just shocks me, Tom, that you can't see that Justin and Justin's parents are all aware and right there next to Candice through all these experiences. Candice is not alone when she's at Dylan's farm. You have to understand there has been a reason why she's had to do this. I mean, in terms of responding to Joseph, the time about the the key fob, let's just say, when it was announced on the NAMUS report that it was returned and Candice Cooley, first impressions appeared that she was denying it. And she was, because she had to. She had to cover up the mistake made by the police, and the police advised her at the time to counter all those claims so it wouldn't harm the case. And that's what she did. She had no choice but to go against the truth at that moment in time, right? I mean, as for later on though, with the gun and key fob, what day was it returned? This day or that day? That did switch and change, to be honest, Joseph, because when I heard it at the time, 1 minute Candice Cooley said, gun fob, sorry, the gun and key fob was returned on the same day. Then it moved to, no, one followed one day, and then the other one was returned the next day. Then it changed again. Oh no, not this item was returned first, but the other one was returned first. And then there was that confusion of, did this happen on the same day as when Kurt called the police, called parents, because that psychic reading about Dylan being held hostage by Venstra and Aviles in Montello. That was back and forth. Then eventually Candice Cooley said, oh no, that happened a day before that. So it's like, oh, not as strong of a link as much anymore. So there was a lot of switching and changing about that. Then the next thing, or maybe in the same process, what followed was, where was the key fob and gun returned back? I don't know if it applied to both or more just so with the gun, but it was all over the place. 1 minute someone was saying it was returned back on the countertop, then someone said it was returned back in the bathroom, then someone said it was returned back on the couch, the chair within the trailer, then it was said it was elsewhere, then here, then there, and it's like, whoa, where was it placed? So that got a bit messy as well. I don't know why it was like that, but that's how it was. And then really the other time where it was kind of confusing and messy was when Candice Cooley said the dirt mound hasn't been dug up, it hasn't been touched, but we have been searching for it, and if it was dug up, you would have seen the disturbance to the weeds, which the weeds have not been disturbed in over a while. And it's like, what? That was the most confusing part. And even if it was confirmed by several people that the dirt mound was dug up and investigated, the way Candice Cooley worded it was very, 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 very contradictory and confusing on the spot. So it might just be the way Candice Cooley words things. The only possible lie from Candice Cooley, what I would note down, okay, make sure you're listening, is in more recent time when Candice Cooley said about the sales businesses in Montello's have boosted by 500%. And in recent time, you had actual Montello locals reaching out and saying that's not the case. The place is somewhat struggling. Saddle Saw Bar has been closed for over 3 months now. The Cowboy Bar and Grill has suffered as well. No one's really going. It's a bit of a struggle. So when you hear that from people who are actually in the area, living there, who aren't directly associated with Dylan Rounds, these are just locals and that's it. And they're telling it from what they see, what they experience day in, day out, etc., right? And then you had Candice Cooley beforehand stating the facts, the stats of what was going on. And she's not even from there. So how did Candice Cooley know? Where did she get that figure from? And because it was, I guess you could arguably say, countered and debunked by those Montello locals, then it infers that Candice Cooley was lying about that figure, don't you think? So technically, Tom is right in a way with certain points, okay? Do you agree with that, Joseph? Was there anything else? I mean, the bit where it says about, Joseph, when you said about Justin, Candice, at the farm together, searching together, they're both going to hear whatever's talked about, whether it at the hands of the police, any other searchers, volunteers out there, anyone in between, any interviews, any talks. If Candice is there, if Justin is there, they're both going to hear it from the same side, right? But the only problem is, because Justin hasn't done his own interviews, we're only hearing it from one side, Candice Cooley. And if people are suspicious of Candice Cooley, if Justin provided interviews himself and he came out with the same stuff as Candice Cooley, and because people seem to look up to Justin more than Candice, then I think it would actually soften the suspicion and reduce it down. I think the tension towards Candice Cooley would be slightly eased if Justin did his own interviews, spoke on his own behalf without Candice Cooley talking or without her being present, and he said similar stuff and he didn't lie. You know what I'm saying? Because at least from my point of view, Justin Rounds hasn't lied from what I know of when it comes to what he's posted or what he's talked about. He's just said what's happened, and there wasn't really many counterpoints or differings of opinions, right? Even like when Justin was recalling that conversation he had with Brenner from the jail, Weber County Jail, how Brenner was shifting the blame onto Chase. That wasn't really countered or debunked alternative ideas. He was saying what he heard because he experienced it. And even Justin, when he was referring back to, I think, winter 2021, when it was Don Hately and Brenner at Justin's shop, wherever that is, and Justin overheard Brenner having a go, talking to Don about Dylan and appearing jealous because of her hearing it from the CCTV cameras and audio. That stuff hasn't been counted much, right? So Justin has been arguably a bit more accurate. Do you agree with that? We could do a poll right now. Who do you believe in? Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds, in what they say? And then the additional option, both. And then another option, if possible, neither. And then list down below who you do trust. Also, okay? What else was to hear? Joseph says, don't you think the FBI knows everything there is to know? It's not a complicated case. They've got Brenner's DNA on Dylan's boots. There isn't anything else. I don't care about Candice one way or the other. Justin is the one who I'm head over heels for. My heart breaks for him. Now, yeah, this is the thing. We're not going to do a poll again. I think it's a bit too soon. But you can give your own thoughts down below and just leave a word or a comment, okay? Do you believe that the Dylan Rounds case is complex or not? In addition, do you feel that the case has been made more complex than it should be? Leave your thoughts. Because, or like deeper, okay? Complex or deeper. In my opinion, I would say, in terms of my coverage of the case, it's somewhat deep. In terms of how it's been presented by other YouTube channels out there, right? They've made it more complex, including all the other petty drama and confusion and past grudges and gossip, etc., and shoving it into this case directly. That's what the problem is. How do I explain that? Well, basically, they've done what they've done. In terms of what I've done with the coverage, I've questioned this and that just to get an idea of things. I've looked at possible areas of where Dylan could be at and additional places. Then I've tried retelling the story, trying to depict the methods, the timing, how things went about on certain days, as we've done, of course, recently too. And even trying to understand how it played out between maybe Brenner and Dylan and the conflict, the showdown, if you want to call it that. That was just trying to make sense of the events, the timings, and just the situation overall. It's not dragged in any false information to a damaging extent, right? It's not led to allowing others to yap on and talk and then just completely muddy the case, muddy Dylan's name and just cause outright mass confusion. That's not happened here. So I would say, in my opinion, the case could be, to an extent, simplistic if you didn't have all the background noise and coverage from others, Okay. I feel the case, although simplistic, could be deep in certain areas with the, at certain points of time, endless possibilities of how things could have played out exactly of certain events, right? What else? What's this? Joseph says, I want to talk about Chase and Chases from the time he came back to town. What if it were Chase who put the gun and the key fob back, and that's why they've been trying to frame Chase? Brenner blames Chase from jail and Wadsworth's outside on YouTube. Both from the beginning, blame Chase. It even proves my point more that Brenner knows something bad about Wadsworth's for them to help him the way they are. I got to find Black Dove and try and get the timeline on Chase. I just assumed it was Brenner that put the gun key fob back. We know Brenner was the only one there that got rid of Dylan and put the truck back and took the gun and the fob. But what if Chase is the one that put it back and that's why he failed the polygraph? I want to know where Chase got the money to go to Wendover and run around that weekend because they never had money. Where do Chase's money come from, him and Avila's, to leave for Wendover early that Friday morning? Okay, hold on. Let's just rewind a little bit right now. So, whilst Joseph listens to Candice Cooley about this case and how it all went down Saturday, how it's simplistic, how Brenner's involved, and that's it, case closed. There's a slight contradiction or a bit of conflict here by Joseph because he's suggesting the possibility that Chase is involved in some way or another. Now, that's not a bad thing, that's your theory, that's your ideas, you have suspicions, but Candice Cooley doesn't agree with that, as you know. She's cleared Chase Venstra's name several times and doesn't believe he's got anything to do with it whatsoever, nor the Wadsworths. So, Joseph kind of supports some ideas by Candice Cooley, but then also goes against others here and there. So I think that's the situation with other people, not directly to do with Candice Cooley, but how there's other people out there that will think different to Joseph, but then agree with him on some points. Give and take, right? Okay, using a bit of common sense where there's a common consensus, but then at times thinking outside of the box for alternative reasons, right? The only thing, what I will also highlight, where you say, I just assumed it was Brenner that put the gun and the key fob back. Assumed. I mean, I guess kind of like using common sense, right? Because of him being present in the area. But, ... we know Brenner was the only one there. Well, no. Because you got Ivor Zodowski in Lucin. You got, I think, another farm handler there somewhere. And you got Don Haitley, right? So, those could have played a part as well. More likely Don, considering Don knows Brenner, Brenner knows Don, and Don is closer compared to some of the other people out there, right? So you can't be 100% definite that it was Brenner, the one and only, that got rid of Dylan and put the truck back and took the gun and key fob. No. But if Chase is the one that put it back and that's why he failed the polygraph. But did Chase fail the polygraph literally, or was it just one question? You know what I'm saying? People have said Brenner failed the polygraph test. I heard it at one point where it was worded as Chase Venstra failed one question in the polygraph test, right? So he didn't completely fail. Just want to say that, okay? But, the bit, I want to know where Chase got money to go to Wendover and run around weekend. So, when you're talking about that, Joseph, was Chase by himself, or was he with Robert Aviles? And you're saying him and Aviles left for Wendover early that Friday morning. Friday morning, Wendover. Is there any additional information about that? Aviles, Chase Venstra, Friday. the 27th of May. Does anyone know any extra information about that? Where they went exactly? Do you have possible idea of why they went down there? Was there a certain location they were going to? Casino? To get food? What's your thoughts on that? I mean, with it being Chase Venstre, the following day after was Snowville and then Ogden and Clinton as well. Okay, and it was from like one fast food place to another, right? So maybe go down to Wendover, get McDonald's or maybe Burger King's or something. You know, maybe wear that little Burger King's paper cutout hat on his head. I don't know. Maybe get a little Happy Meal as well. But yeah, just leave your thoughts if you've got any additional information about that, because if you want a map analysis of that, maybe we could tie it in, okay? And then also, regarding Dylan, which supposedly was on a Tuesday, so that would have been the 24th of May. There's talks about Dylan went to Idaho to get seed, his truck, I guess. But my question is, do you know exactly where in Idaho Dylan may have gone to get the seed? The name of the store, the place? If you do know, list it down below, because these are like little videos, little interesting ones where we could do a map analysis and really specifically target and concentrate on that one event that happened on that day leading up to Dylan's disappearance, okay? And maybe we could all stitch it all together as one whole map analysis at some point. So yeah, list it down below if you know anything. Anything else? Emily Bequette said to get LO. I don't know what that means. There we go. Shout out to Joseph. Doug, give him enough rope. Indiana. What? Like, what do you mean rope? You know, like public execution or something? Terry says, I agree with you. How long were the campers on the mountain if they were there on the morning of the 28th? And if they were up when Dylan went to the grain shed and seen him going to it? Yeah. Anyone knows about that, feel free to add it on. Seen a new video from Ty. No, that was to do with... well, actually, he was closer to Windover this time. Searching. No, Terry, that was Lance Kelly. Okay, I think we adjusted that in the last video. Anything else? Smooth fishing. Jazz says federal gun charges. If it was federal charges, they wouldn't be in county jail. They would be in federal custody. Okay. Ellen Berg, here we go. It rained here in Montello the evening of the 28th, 100% sure. If Dylan farmed all night on the 27th, he would be heading to bed. Brenner would probably be getting up at 6:51 a.m. the following day. Dylan could have seen the weather forecast for Saturday and wanted to park truck inside in case it did rain early. Any thoughts? I mean, if that truly was the case, then if there was like a sense that it was going to rain Saturday in the early hours of the morning, then you could think, oh, maybe Dylan parked the grain truck on a Friday, right? And then for some reason on a Saturday, Dylan went back down there in his normal pickup truck to maybe check on the grain truck to make sure it's dry. And that's when he encountered Brenner, and that's when there was a showdown, confrontation. And because Dylan's truck was already on site, it just made it easier for Brenner to search through to get the key fob, I guess, or the gun, you know, just to see and maybe make use of it there because it's an opportunity. It's an alternative way of looking at it. My God, this could be yet another possible video. But still, if that phone call is what it is, the 6:51 a.m. one on Saturday in the morning, and Dylan said he's going to park the grain truck in the grain shed, then really you can't bend it any other way. If that's what Dylan said he was going to do on that day, at that time, that's what he was going to do. Okay? That's the one. This is what I mean. I know you could still maybe counter it for whatever reason, but I'd like to think that that phone call, at least by Dylan on the day he went missing in the early hours of the morning, was real and was a fact. Because if it is, you can use it as a checkpoint So like, if you start coming up with different theories, alternative ones, thinking too much outside of the box, you can like pull yourself back in from going too far down the rabbit hole, right? What's this? Hang on, I think he was trying to get the stuff out of the way, including the horse, and save 5k seed. I'm sure Brenner was having a fit over the gate or sharing shed. We know Dylan Rounds was calling the owner, but calls went unanswered. And I'm sure Brenner flipped out and went too far as he had in the past with that terrible temper. Such a tragedy. It's a really simple case. I bet there's plenty of evidence, just need Dylan to charge Brenner. Okay. Oh, Indy. Alan, do you know what happened? More importantly, do you have any strong intuition where Dylan is at? I wish to God I did. I would give that information up in a second. Speculations get people into trouble. This case will be solved with evidence and facts. Unfortunately, I have neither. I haven't seen you around in a while. Okay, fair enough. Oh, we got Bob. What does Bob say? Tom Evans, do you a kid by the name Mark that is also friends with Dylan? He was out there the day of the big search. The big search. Bob, are you talking about the big push, the final push before winter or upcoming to winter of 2022, like in November? Or are you talking about in the early days of the search for Dylan? I don't remember the name Mark. Can you fill me in, Bob? Okay, what's this? Bob saying, I was in a chat room. A lady said she was talking to one of Dylan's friends named Mark, no last name. This was the day of the big search they did. I think she was on Salty's day one. I was wondering if he is the coach's son that was friends with Dylan. Okay, maybe. I mean, for this supposed friend called Mark to be out there searching and possibly, supposedly, others, Dylan Round's friends weren't out there, it makes you think, oh, you know, where were the others at? What were they doing? Did they care, or were they advised not to go out searching? Like, what? H2O. Observation by campus at night. First campus seemed too far and obstructed. I mean, it depends where they were situated. You know, from a certain angle and field of view, you can see the farm. And even if you couldn't see it, you could probably hear the tractor because it's nighttime, tends to be more quieter. Even if you couldn't quite make it out from a distance, you can see the lights in the dark. That stands out as well. What's this? Sun tunnels seem closer, but we'll look at it more. They're 8 minutes from the shed. From Little Pigeon Mountains, it's 24 minutes to the shed. Okay, interesting. The flood warnings on May 30th. Enjoyed your program today. Sorry. Okay. Just do them on the spot. Okay, and we got clear as well. The flood warnings on May 30th. I didn't hear about that. Did anyone else hear about flood warnings on May 30th? Any of the Montello locals, did you see any weather reports about more and more rain, which could cause issues? Let me know. Cleo Playful Witch. Shout out to Cleo. You know, she's always lurking. Well, not lurking, more hovering in the background. Hovering on the broom. Yeah. Doing all the potions, maybe. Indy. Hey guys, I'm still around and listening. I'm at a loss, except wondering why all the egos keep getting in the way of Dylan's case, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Shout out to Indy. I think it's partially to do with, you know, people think they know better. People don't like the ideas of others making progress. Bit of competitiveness going on, right? And that's why. Okay, what's this? It was awesome. I thought Tom brought interesting points. I always just assumed it was Brenner, but that could make sense as to why Kurt wants to implicate Chase and not Brenner. What if Chase was the one Kurt lured the family to town for? It'd be really great to pin Chase down time-wise the following few days. I mean, this is the only thing. I mean, aside from not being able to have a camera to see who returned the stuff back, because the items were cleaned down, so there's no prints on them, gun fob, I keep saying that, the key fucking fob and the gun. You know, could it have been by the same person? You know, if Brenner is known for leaving prints on the boots, do you think he really would have bothered to clean the gun and the key fob down? Or would it have been someone else? The reason why I thought it was Kurt Wadsworth at some point is because the decoy theory, which I created and came up with on my channel in a past video, but also it's because with Kurt being known to be quite tidy and clean with his bleaching and stuff like that, I suppose he doesn't have OCD, but, he's into deep cleaning and stuff. So, he thinks about what he does. So could that be applied with these items? Returning them back, but making sure they're clean so it doesn't directly link to him, but it could question someone else. Maybe. Well, that's it for the that's it for the comments here. Let's move on to the Facebook page. Right, so this was the post 19 hours ago, once again by Jazz Girlson. And the caption is, I'll sign this. Will you? And you got a little photo of a mysterious individual fading off into the mist. And further within, a person stood still and it says missing. So you get the theme and the topics to do with missing people. And I think it was shared or reposted from the original source, Erin Knabel, 23 hours ago. Hashtag please share this. Hashtag where is Andrea Knabel? Okay. Has anyone heard of a missing person known as Andrea Knabel? Let me know. Let's just read what this says. Every day, 607 people go missing in the world. The first 24 hours are the most critical in finding a missing person. This is everyone's worst nightmare. It's so important that missing poster flyers and information gets distributed broadly and rapidly. I am asking the leaders of Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok to make the missing post be served up to broader audiences through the algorithm. The same should be done for Amber Alerts. I guess weather. Please consider this as it could make a huge difference for the family members of the missing. With your help, you could change the way we address the missing and lost on social media. Select this link to sign the petition. So you see it down below. We'll check that out in a second. Kathy Kammer Brenner. Wait, Kathy Brenner? Hold on. I can't access this because I don't have a Facebook account, but it's a bit ironic. Is Kathy Brenner Jim Brenner's, related family? Oh. Kathy Brenner. I signed this petition and shared it to my Facebook page. Who's next? I mean, it is a bit awkward, isn't it? You've got... If you've just suddenly come into the case and you've got the last name of one of the persons in the case, but, yeah. And also Dawn Pye signed it as well. Okay, well, let's head on over. There we go. On change.org. It's a bit big, the image, but there you go. 168 have signed. Let's get it to 200. Not a massive target. I mean, you have seen it on change.org where the signatures, the target was about 50,000 or 220,000, right? Was there anything else? Eric Carter Landon started his petition to Mark Zuckerberg, founder and CEO at Facebook, and one other. Okay. Anything else? 6 days ago. Reasons for signing. Erin Knabel, because my sister is missing. I want to help her and all missing people. Okay. View all reasons for signing. Kelly Arnold, my cousin has been missing for 48 years. She disappeared with 2 other girls and none of them have been seen since. I wish there had been better actions taken in 1974. Maybe we could at least lay them to rest. Marianne McCullough says, also, wouldn't it be great if endangered missing persons in the first 24 to 48 hours received ad space on social media? Patricia Turner says, families need answers. Laurie Offlet says, because they sometimes want out stories with graphic context or language into them, we have no choice but to demand they do. Gina Hellman says, this is one of the fastest and widespread opportunities to share the word across many states. Time is a great essence. Claudette Kirstead says the thought of this happening to any teen or child, let alone an adult family member, is terrifying. The first 148 hours Facebook alone could get 1 million views immediately. Treme Montgomery says missing people should be the first and foremost saw on social media, other than the search for the murderers or traffickers that caused them to go missing. I support this 1000%. Karen Lee, I try my best to share missing person posters on Twitter, but this would be a game changer. So I would say, in my opinion, will it actually happen? Will there be change? Maybe at some point, yeah. Maybe this is where it ties in with Candice Cooley at some point, where she might reveal some big news within the Dylan Rounds case, how it's helped these other things spread awareness and so on, acted as a catalyst. But at the end of the day, when you look at some of these social media platforms, all they really care about is if it makes money or not. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was negotiation where, yes, we can provide an ad about a missing person. We can provide algorithm searches. Was it SEO or something? When you type in search words, keywords, and it will direct you towards a missing person. And it will show posters, leaflets, advertisement, the lot, towards people that normally wouldn't search for that type of content. All that could happen on one condition, that someone gets paid money, right? It wouldn't surprise me if that's what happened, right? You think about it. You got Salty Pancakes that pays others for advertisement to get his channel known, reach out there, gain more people. It's not 100% natural and raw, is it? There's a level of assistance, there's a level of help, a level of support, right? But it is what it is. I guess it applies elsewhere, like Google Ads, Google Adverts, TikTok, Instagram, where you can pay people to have your photos, your videos shared, spread about, so you can gain attention. I think there was like something on TikTok where you could have the first 24, 72 hours more focused on you, so you could get more views or something. All these ways, but you had to pay for it, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if a person goes missing, you reach out to these platforms, oh, we need to spread awareness. Sorry, that will cost $20 that, and it'll be like, oh, wow. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes it's just a bit more effective if the general public literally spread it as much as they can online, so it saturates pages and it takes over, so it gets in public view without having to pay these social media companies, right? It can be done. It is doable. You just need to be consistent. How can I prove that? Well, look at the Kenny Veach case, look at the Dylan Rounds case on YouTube. You set the search results, the relevancy of it, and you see how saturated it is with videos and coverage. Just take in mind, I've uploaded 220 videos on the Dylan Rounds case within, 6 to 8 months? So, and that's just by one person. 220 videos on the case. So if you had 5 to 10,000 people just simply spreading awareness on these missing people, that can be as successful too, right? It's somewhat doable. Although some things have been a bit slowed down, like this Find Dylan Rounds Facebook page, what they set up, what they've been able to do supposedly has led to some change or some action eventually going on, such as this meeting on the second week of February, Candice Cooley Justin with Boxelder County, that was caused directly because of the noise made by the Find Dylan Rounds community page, as notified and acknowledged by Candice Cooley herself. So even on a small scale, it's successful. But these social media platforms, is it all of them? I don't really know too much about Facebook because I don't have an account with Facebook in a long time. As for Instagram, that's just all about advertising, brands, sponsors, clothing, being a narcissist, etc. As for TikTok, pure degeneracy, once again a bit of narcissism, a lot of delusionalism, TikTok being corrupt for different reasons, but mainly because of you can get blacklisted. There's more censoring on TikTok, way more. Your videos can get 0 views for no reason. You can put lots of effort into a video, but TikTok decides not to publicly share your video with the For You page, FYP hashtag, so no one sees it. And then these other degenerates do a stupid dance move or dress in a dodgy way and they get millions of views, and yet it contributes fuck all to anything serious or important, and yet a more important area gets ignored. So yeah, you can have advertisement there and you probably could pay for it to be boosted and pushed to the top, but you shouldn't have to pay for it, right? So I think that's what will happen in the situation with the missing people. There might be a bit of leniency somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised with YouTube, there'll probably be a bit more leniency there. As for Twitter, there could be a bit of leniency there, maybe. And now you can have like the Twitter wars and people going after one another and all that. But I think when it comes to a simply missing person case, because people do talk a lot and do spread lots of things for bad reasons, but also good reasons, then maybe it can apply more there. But you can like leave your own thoughts down below. Like, do you think it'll work? Do you think there'll be change with these platforms and these algorithms? Will it be in favour of missing people, possibly? I mean, what you got to take in mind is, from the looks of it, supposedly quite a few missing people going on in the world and also within the US. That will it become too saturated? Will some names be remembered and listed high up and then other names won't be? Will there be yet another hierarchy of importance? I don't know. There'll be some positives, but there'll also be negatives that come along with it, which, you know, it is where it is, right? So let's put all that aside. Let's return back to the Dylan Rounds discussion, keep on talking about that, and look at the next page of that other forum. Okay, so we're on June 26th of 2022. Let's see where the conversations are at this moment in time in the case when looking back retrospectively. Take in mind, there might be bits of information which we've never seen before, might have been brushed over by others. There might be some corrections, there might be some misinformation, there might be interesting questions and new video ideas and things that could be generated from this. So no harm checking it. And also, if anything needs to be corrected, adjusted, that can follow too, okay? So guess who says, in response to Kimster's earlier response, it's pretty obvious here where no CC permit is needed of those that have not had any type of safety training by the way they carry theirs. I assume they talk about guns, especially the nuts that think they have to carry multiple guns. It often looks like they are actually offering up a weapon to somebody. Okay, what was this to do with? When I went through my gun safety training, I was warned about how people try to get your firearm. It's more... Oh yeah, I remember that from the last video I did. Yeah. Grandma Bear with a long paragraph responding saying, if they knew he had one and evidenced it or made a point of saying so, etc., then certainly a possibility. I'm not assuming true or criticising, but I sure hope this kid didn't move, lived down there and acted full of himself in response to Dylan. Not uncommon for the age, like maybe portraying himself as landowner, farmer with money thrown around, or boss of people older and wiser, etc., or in the bar, or with his gun either. So basically forming jealousy, making some of the locals annoyed because of it. The reason I wonder this, and I do, is his firing of Grandpa's friend employee by Dylan. I assume they mean Don Haley, that, yep. There is a hint or reason to wonder, or bragging that he managed to raise a crop when others hadn't or told him it wouldn't work. This kind of attitude or behaviour, as we know, does not sit well with those older. More mature they feel, wiser, who worked their whole lives, etc., or had nothing handed to them and so on. Someone just may have had their fill of it or been rubbed the wrong way by Dylan. So this theme is to do with jealousy. What Dylan has, others want, but never got the chance or opportunity. Maybe. If this is foul play, this is most likely motive reason that crosses my mind, jealousy. Even theft, other than if he had some money on him, isn't as likely to me. No one took a vehicle, took anything of value from his trailer, apparently, ransacked it or necessarily was even in it, etc. And the other person had to almost have a vehicle or be driving and not relying on Dylan for a ride. But yeah, because no vehicles were missing, just Dylan himself, it's not like the person, whoever it was, such as Brenner, or if there's any others involved, trying to take over Dylan's business, Dylan's farming career, because, it's just now completely abandoned. Unless it's the idea of, you can't have nice things, other people take them away. If they don't have it, they're going to make sure you don't have it either. Could that be another mentality where there's a form of jealousy, but still ultimately there is no gain by either party down the line? Both suffer. It also says here, on another note, if you had no boots or shoes, would you choose to walk the desert or the road? I have no idea if the roads are paved there or one he would need, but if it was dirt road, what would be your choice then? I'm asking anyone, because if he walked the road, then it could have been a random stranger. I don't think they likely, but could have been. But I don't see that as likely if you walk the desert. Okay. Guess who says, I'm afraid he said something that caused this too, not blaming him, just knowing how 19-year-old are. There are no paved roads anywhere near there, it seems. Yep. Grandma says, same here. It isn't a criticism. Firing, okay. I remember one that came into a bar from out of town, so that's her own life stories, okay. Started hanging around a few days and doing the same, and everyone else is going, trying to impress, get women, etc. Someone looked into it, didn't take long, and yes, his daddy owned the bar, not him, and no, he didn't even own part of it, etc. Lots of kids do this, and especially if their folks own something, etc. Some of them also just expect dad to hand the business to them, okay? I'm not working there. McDonald's at 16, for instance. I'm not going to college, so I'm going here. They all mostly do it at least at some level for a while. If one is lucky, not for too long, before they face the real world and realise it isn't that easy. And let's face it, not a knock either, but his big things were in dad's name and there is a reason for it still. He's just a youth. I mean, as for Dylan, even if people believe Dylan was handed this and that, I think it was worded by Justin in a past interview. Yeah, this was given, that was given, but to give him a leg up in life, a boost, a head start. I think the reality is, even if Dylan was given or handed down something such as the farm, such as the land and acreage, once he received it, then the real hard work kicked in. That's what I would say. And even if Dylan was handed something down, Dylan was still busy doing similar work-related stuff on the FEMA farming, but elsewhere with the custom farming. So whilst he was doing it elsewhere, he was proving to himself and proving to others that he is capable, he can do it. So then when he does start operating on his own farm with his own crop, he'll be somewhat successful. Ariel popping in saying, there's evidence, but most just circumstantial evidence. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did they not find his boots with a little bit of blood on it? Could be wrong, I'm like 90% sure. Yeah, they found a little bit of blood on the boot. But this was the other thing. Indiana, okay? Indiana, are you there in the chat? I remember you recently said that the little blood spot, little blood stain found on Dylan's boots was animal blood. Where did you hear that from? Because for most part of the discussions throughout this case and what Candice Cooley has said, she's always referred to the boots with the bit of blood on, saying it's to do with Dylan's blood. Where did you hear the alternative evidence? Let me know. Guess who? A drop of blood really doesn't mean anything by itself, though. I mean, when it just so happens to be maybe coincidental timing with a person going missing, yeah, I'd say it does link in a way, right? It's like saying, oh, that person's car has disappeared around the same time as the person themselves gone missing. And you say, oh, the car doesn't link to the person's disappearance. Well, I think it does, because if the person that's gone missing is in possession of the car that's missing, then probably they drove it somewhere and took themselves away from wherever for whatever reason. So there is a link. Anyway, Grandma Bear says, there was, yes. I mentioned that maybe it is from hunting or butchering. Oh, so possible to do with animals. Not sure if he did either. Not uncommon among farmers though. Yep, could be anything. And since we now know they're apparently near a spot where they bury garbage or burn it to me it isn't necessarily proof of foul play. So even at this point, people are saying it's not quite foul play. Interesting. There's even the slight possibility that are not Dylan's boots, but someone else's. It is unlikely, but possible. Now, it seems to be Dylan's boots. That's what Candice Cooley's confirmed. And Brenner left DNA on them from moving them. And even if that blood comes back as Dylan's, it really doesn't prove anything on its own either. But that's the thing. We're not proving it on its own. We're tying bits of evidence with one another, right? It forms a story, each bit of evidence. The more I look at this and try to step back, there isn't even much circumstantial evidence. I do think it's likely foul play, but I mostly based that on the parents' description of the type of kid Dylan was. I mean, in your own thoughts, do you think there is enough evidence at this point in time in the case, or do you think more needs to be found? Do a poll now. Do you think there's enough evidence or not enough? Feel free to vote. I don't know if it's significant, but it's also a little odd to me that no friends, employees, etc. have said one word about Dylan, but then there likely is no media down there on this story trying to interview or find out anything. I mean, a few people have commented about Dylan, but maybe not the key ones. Regina, well, I remember his mother said he was growing grain, but I've wondered where he was in the process of planting. I know his parents said he told both of them that things were going well, but was it true? Remember, he'd fired a farmhand, which surely made things more difficult. And in the joint interview with the parents, the father said they'd check the tractor to see what it was last used, which I find interesting. When it was last used. Okay. Do we do another poll right now? I mean, what's your thoughts about Dylan and his farming? Do you think, from maybe what you've heard or seen from the past, whatever, do you feel that Dylan was successful with his own farming, his crops, or not? What's your thoughts on that? Do you think he did enough? Do you think he could have done better? What do you think? I mean, if you look at it now, you look at the crops, you look at the area in general, it probably looks a bit, but that's because it's been abandoned, right? But what about when it was managed, when it was controlled by Dylan? Was enough done or not? I know Candice Cooley has referred back in the past saying there was like 2 to 3 successful crop seasons produced by Dylan. So he was getting somewhere, he was making progress. I mean, that could be the case, maybe. But is it one of those things where Candice Cooley thinks she knows better, or she's just relaying on from what Dylan has told her? Did Dylan lie at times? So he didn't worry anyone? If you're getting on with something, some kind of work or business, it's not working out, something's going wrong, you might not tell people about it. You might just brush it off and say, oh, yeah, it's okay. It's a bit quiet at the moment. It's not, but it'll pick up soon. It's not bad. It's all right. But, it's far from that. I mean, if you went down there at the time Dylan went missing, that's really the people who are present there at the time would know whether or not the crops, the farm itself has been managed or not, right? You go now, it's not exactly a fair observation because it's long past it now. But yeah, leave your thoughts down below. Oh wow, surely that's where the dirt came from, thank you. What? Where the dirt came from? What dirt? You're talking about the dirt on Dylan's truck. What's that got to do with the dirt mound? Interesting. Grandma Bear. I still have to watch that one. Yes, the more I think about it, I'm not so sure either of anything. Checking the tractor is interesting, and yes, the firing stands out to me. I keep realising all info basically comes from the parents. I think the grandmother spoke once too, didn't she? Did she? I've never seen or heard her speak at all. Was he really doing as well as said? Not criticising, but he is a young and was off on his own. Little to do out there, I'd imagine, short of going to Montello, was cell reception or TV even good? I mean, Dylan had a TV in his trailer, so did he ever make use of it? Did he even have internet? It would be pretty isolating, I'd rather imagine, in a small place he was living in, top of it. Well, just to do a little correction from how it's been worded by Candice Cooley and others, and even locals, Dylan did not live there. He may have stopped in the trailer overnight for the odd day or two if he was doing his farm work there, but aside from that, I think Candice Cooley said he would only be there like 3 to 6 months or something out of the year, because elsewhere, other times he'd be doing other things, custom farming for other people. So, he did move about. Okay. But, still, whilst he's doing his thing out there, especially the farm where it could get a little bit quiet, but that's why he went down to Montello. That's why he reached out to Kurt Wadsworth, I guess. Was it the right thing to do? I mean, I guess for Dylan, yeah. But, long term, maybe not. But he wasn't really to know. What else? It's interesting now, this person says, I keep realising all info basically comes from the parents. At this moment in time, to now at least, it appears that up to June 26, the information provided had not been contaminated or corrupted that much by the presence of YouTubers and other people out there. But this forum page here has not been affected by it. That's interesting, that. Anything else? I'm sorry, but it's rare youth that age that handles money well. I'm not saying it isn't possible, and some do, I'm sure, but most get a little heady with their first taste of freedom at 18 or so and do not make the wisest choices with respect to money. Well, from the looks of it and how it's been worded by Candice Cooley, then, Dylan, with his checks from custom farming was put into his bank account, and money he did make went back into his farming business, the seeds, the equipment, bits and bobs like that. So it's like a continuous circle. Get money, invest it into his own farm to help it grow with time. So it seems as if he knew what he was doing. Though it was also said by Candice Cooley did help with the invoices with equipment or seeds, grain, etc., that stuff to help him out. So, I think he was getting by. I don't think it was that bad, from what I know of at least, but if you think different, feel free. There was also talks about all the money situations of owing people $5,000, $4,000, owing this person, owing Kurt Wadsworth, owing Don, and it was cleared up with time. There was no money owed to anyone, no issues there. And even when Don was fired, they parted on neutral terms, and Candice Cooley believed within the 6-week period leading up to Dylan's disappearance, if Dylan never went missing, Dylan could have invited Dylan could have invited Don Hately down to the farm to check the crops out, and it would have been nice. It would have been a good turnaround, and it would have patched things up, as worded by Candice Cooley. Would it have? I'm not 100% certain, but, never found out. Anything else? I keep thinking of just the price of gas and what it would take to run to Montello with even the personal truck. There's so much we don't know at first in his case. I would have figured he lived with Grandma and Grandpa or next door to them, as it was said right off. He and Grandpa owned a farm and acres, etc. How far was he from them? Do we even know that? Well, somewhat far away. Aren't the grandparents in Idaho? As an owner, was he paid even? Did he have regular income or just crop money once a year? Well, no, he got money from custom farming in between. Anything else? In the name for Dylan, the dad. Oh, the phone, yeah. I think the cell phone, the truck, etc. Wasn't the gun even registered to Dad? Do I recall that correctly? I mean, it's not that shocking. It's not the end of the world. So they checked the tractor. I guess they'd want to be sure he was around, or were trying to determine when last around or for how long. I don't know how you tell it unless newer and logged things. Yeah, this talk about a tractor. Have you heard about the talk about a tractor at Dylan's farm, checking it out? Are they talking about the tractor at Dylan's farm or the tractor at the grain shed? Because there's a couple of tractors about. It is a farm. She also says, it was stated, wasn't it that the grain was safe and protected? That he did do that? Is that a fact? And why were they checking the tractor? Was it thought that he actually planted the grain or ploughed or something? If he hadn't, then why check the tractor? Oh, yeah, now I get it. Yeah, this tractor. So the parents checking out the tractor at the farm, the tractor that was supposedly used, from the looks of it, Friday night, 27th of May, about 11:30 to 11:45 p.m, as the witnesses who were camping out nearby at Little Pigeon Mountains observed Dylan's farm and tractor in use doing seeding at night. So that's the tractor, what's being talked about here and what the family, I guess, investigated, checked out. But what I do want to say is, did the parents know about Dylan doing his thing Friday night? Okay. Just very quickly, welcome if you're currently here in the chat right now, if you've just joined, if you're new to this video, feel free to watch along. If you want to catch up, rewind back, or if you want to do that later, feel free to do so. But an important point to mention right now, and make sure you're listening, Tom Evans. Whilst Dylan may have made a call to the grandmother about parking the grain truck in the grain shed on the day he went missing, well, before he went missing, but on that day, did Dylan make any phone calls the day before, on Friday? Did Dylan call any of the family members that he was going to be using his tractor late at night and planting, seeding? Did that ever happen, or did he just do it quietly? Did his own thing without informing anyone? What's your thoughts about that? Do you know anything? Let me know. Right. Continuing on. It was said there was somewhere he sometimes stayed in Montello, probably Kurt Wadsworth's, with someone, I think, Kurt Wadsworth. I never heard that, but I read it here, I think. We don't know, to my knowledge, who it was, Kurt Wadsworth. I'd also like to know what time he left the bar on the night he was there. That was confirmed. I don't think that he has even come out. How busy was it? Who he interacted with, etc. Yeah, what time did he leave? I don't know. It's not unusual, of course, that Ellie shares little or nothing with the public, but this case seems oddly quiet. Too bad some reporter or two aren't on it, but it doesn't exactly sound like the kind of area most would go to, nor do I suppose there is much for media news there. Maybe. Ariel says, yeah, with the boots not being his theory, I thought about commenting about that, but pulled back because it's kind of unlikely. I'm glad you said something because I was starting to regret not saying anything. I want to know what brand those boots were and maybe a picture if one exists. Yeah, I've still yet to see a photo of the boots, but I'm really not surprised because it's a key bit of evidence within the case. Maybe they'll present a photo in court, but once again, just in case if there's any new people watching or so, or people coming back from the past, have any of you seen a photo of Dylan Round's boots? And I'm not talking about the ones in that TikTok video of Dylan on the Segway in the past. I'm talking about his boots relevant to the case when he's gone missing, okay? Anything else? I'm not sure if I mentioned it somewhere because I'm having a hard time keeping up, but if not, I think it would be pretty useful. I mean, everyone here has a feeling that it was foul play as far as I can tell. I'm just really trying to find something that can give us some evidence, frustrating to say the least, but I'm really determined to try and work towards figuring things out. Guess who says, I know the parents can get the info on what numbers he called, received calls from and texting info. I sure wonder if they know whose those numbers belong to and have talked to those people. Now that it's been so long and the FBI is now involved, hopefully somebody that has the authority too has requested the text transcripts to verify the story of whomever he was in contact with told them. Hopefully there is so much more going on than it seems. Also, guess who says, and why am I wondering so much about the text if that since he lives out there in the middle of nowhere, cell service is probably spotty and texting is much more stable. most likely not too many people would be travelling out to where he was without telling him. They were coming since they would be travelling quite distance to get out there and taking a chance that he wasn't even there. I mean, I don't know how it is in comparison to Lucin to Montello, but like when I think about it now, like when you saw, it was mainly, I think it was really only, yeah, it was only Lance Kelly, from what I know of, who in the past was out there searching. I mean, it was during the time in Montello when Lance Kelly did a couple of live streams when actually out there in the wild, searching about. And it might have been a bit laggy, the streams, or the quality might have been a bit crap, but it was somewhat successful. It worked, didn't it? I'm sure some of you watched his videos in the past, right? When he was live out there. I think one of the live streams was when going to Brenner's Burnt Down trailer the first time. I remember that, yeah. And even, I think the live stream went on for like an hour or two because he actually stopped by there calling the police about the place as well for it to be investigated and waiting on a response. Yeah, I remember that now. So it was doable then. If it's doable there, doing a live stream, internet connection, data being used, does the same apply to Lucin? Yes? No? I don't know. Leave your thoughts. Has anyone done any live stream videos in Lucin when searching for Dylan Rounds? Does anyone know? Has anyone seen those videos? Grandma Bear says, yeah, it does make sense, doesn't it? Had we known it was a rubbish burial burning site from the start, we probably wouldn't have found it so odd. Right. Yeah, I can understand, because I know some people back then, and maybe even still now, think boots found chucked behind there. Ooh, bit weird. Find out it was once a dumping ground for unused items. You think, probably they were never used ever again, so that's why they were there. But, if Dylan did have an extra pair of boots for whatever reason, then you could say, doesn't seem as suspicious. But whatever's going on in the case now and what's gone on with time and the direction it's slanted towards, it does seem like foul play, right? Homicide investigation, etc. And maybe when it comes to a court case in the future, whenever that comes about to do with Dylan, there's a possibility that they might bring up about the boots, the discussion about them, the true meaning of them, additional information, possibly. Could clear up some old questions. Did I not read that one by Regina? Of course not. I mean, I would hope that we'd seen a hole in the ground and a nearby pile of dirt that would put it together that the dirt came from the hole. Grandma Bear. Oh, long one. With all going on, the most likely are his boots, but since this is a garbage area, they could be someone else's, and they also could have been put there at any given time or day. Candice Cooley strongly disagrees with that. In my neck of the woods, Red Wings are the work boots for the farmers and workers alike. They're hard to find. There are only certain outlets that carry them. There may be other well-known boots, but they're, again, the boot. If anything similar is in the case in that area, it wouldn't be uncommon at all for others to have the same boots. I imagine his mother would have known his size, though. However, when she said she helps him find another pair of this certain kind of boot every time he needs a new pair, I wondered if they weren't something like Red Wings, as she has to help him find another pair somewhere. That is in a large part what got me wondering if they are even his boots, because here, Red Wings are popular and most men have them if in need of a work boot and they can find them and afford them. And since Dylan is missing, we can't even be sure he is missing his boots and not wearing them. I mean, really, the only other way of clearing up the boot situation is if Dylan is ever found, you dig him up and you see the boots still on him, then there you go. That kind of sums that up. And maybe it could rule out the evidence of the other boots, right? But if Dylan's found without any boots, no boots found on his remains, then you probably say that the ones that found at the dirt mound were his and relevant at the time. That's the only other way of confirming it. Regina says, you know, it was a silly argument that led up to it. As I understand it, the farmhand wanted to tend to farm business, but Dylan wanted to hook up a washing machine. Okay. Is this to do with the Don Haley situation with the washing machine not working? Right. Grandma Bear. I hadn't heard that. Thanks, had no idea. It sounds silly, but could still be heated or a bigger deal than it sounds. Like, who is boss underneath it all, being paid for not working on farm or something on that order. And it was big enough to result in firing through, right? And final comment, Regina. I think I get what you're saying, and I totally get Dylan wanting a washing machine, but the issue was priority, and I have to say that I think the old hand was right. Okay. So that's it for that post. Make sure to key in on page 16 next time. Total amount of pages is 24, so it's not added since. Interesting. So it will be interesting with time if we do catch up with it quick enough, if there is time. What was the final discussion on this page? Well, we'll find out eventually. So yeah, there you go. That was like a little discussion video. Let me know if you found anything of interest. Any key points, statements, bits of info that stood out to you? Did anything make you question yourself or question what you previously knew of? Let me know down below. If you got additional comments, leave a comment down below. If you want to like the video, feel free to do so. If you want to throw whips about, you can do that as well. If you didn't check out my earlier video today, which is an alternative one, but if you want something a little bit light-hearted, or you know, you need to escape from drama or some kind of drama in a way, feel free to check that video out. I'll provide a link as well, pinned down below too. So I think that concludes it for now. What day is it tomorrow? Tuesday. Is that Valentine's Day? I know some people were saying cover a video on Valentine's Day. I did a poll last night in last night's video, and the majority wanted a Dylan Rounds video. So that's what we'll do. Maybe we can look at the dirt mound tomorrow, something a bit more different, a bit more visual, okay? Being up close with that spot, to be able to look at it and understand it. That's what we'll do. And if there is time, I can probably add in the second vote of dodgy map time. So 2 in 1, you get the best of both, okay? I am really cold right now, but as you know, look, this is the consequence. Not having the red robe, very cold, right? So, don't know what's going to happen. Maybe by the time I receive the red robe back, I probably may have already turned into a penguin or an iceberg now. Well, time will tell with that. So we'll see what happens next overall with the Dylan Rounds case as well. And yeah, that's it for now. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye and good night for now.